us up the more Shemaiah prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day. So the Prophet, Islam. First, all rise, giving perfect and infinite praises to Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Honors to the divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius, and all the minor prophets that I have not mentioned, and all prophets. Honors to Prophet Noble Ali, the founder of the Moore Science of America, 1913, AD, past and present future leaders. We give them honors, and honors to the John the Baptist return of the Jesus return, which is Prophet Noble Ali. John the Baptist returned in our day and time in 1914, started the UNIA, Brother Marcus Messiah Godfrey Bay, stating that a man without nationality is like a tree without roots. I'm just paraphrasing, those are not what his exact words are. Honors to the past leaders of the UNIA, the Universal Negro Improvement Association. Today's show is called Immature Behavior. I see a lot of issues that goes along with this immature behavior because the children just don't act out. They act out because there's some instability in the home. The instability in the home lies within the guidelines and jurisdiction of the one who is the father or mother or parenting, or confusing the situation of saying that, two fathers could begot sons and daughters, and two women could begot sons and daughters. This confusion is causing a serious catastrophe in the minds of the ones who are forced to believe this narrative of this form of indoctrination that you can have two of the same reproduce itself, which is not true. You can look in biology, you can look at science, you can look at life science, you can look at all these things. But the immature behavior comes in with the territory of letting the child do as they want, do or their will, do as they please, and there is no consequences of rude behavior. Therefore, if the child is being abused at home, it's a reflection of the child being a bully at school. We cannot sit here and overlook these things because we understand that poor behavior comes with a state of mind of a lower vibration thinking. Lack of food, lack of new love, lack of nurturing in the home, and no matter what happens in their home, it leads to a child being very flamboyant. As a young woman being a prostitute, a harlot, a stripper. For the young man being a gigolo, a harlot, a stripper, a prostitute, whatever you want to call it. And these are the things that is being instilled into the young people because the mothers or fathers don't want nothing to do with these children. They're just living and they're just giving them whatever they want to, so that way they can be pacified and stay quiet. But all in all, the children are going to see that who truly loves them and who truly doesn't. It's hard for a child to be very successful in this day and time because of all this confusion, all these different lifestyles, gang banging. Gang banging is more the way of a family or so-called single mother or so-called single father having to work, but yet and still there's no structure at the home. When we understand certain conditions, there's no structure at the home, we begin to see the state of mind of where the parenting comes from. You don't even own yourself. You don't have no authority and jurisdiction over your children because the laws have changed since I was growing up. You can't beat your children in a certain way. You can't chastise your children in a certain way. You'll go to jail. You'll go to prison for child abuse, neglect in the home, childhood obesity. The fruit don't fall too far from the root or the tree. And when we understand the conditions of what the dieting is like, we can understand where the poor behavior comes from. Because it takes time for a person who's a young teenager for their mind to develop. They're still developing. The body still has to go through the motions. They're not equipped to deal with corporate United States society. They're not equipped to deal with law because they don't know law. They don't study law. They don't have time to study to better their conditions. They don't have time for none of that. Because all in all they have to worry about is what nice clothes they got and what jewelry they got and what kind of cool haircut they got just to blend in and make friends. But if you act how your peers act, then you're cool. That's how I was when I was growing up. Ain't nothing changed. It just got worse. The behavior's still there, but it just got worse. Because mothers and fathers choose not to pay attention. They want to do what they do as they please. Have their date night or whatever, bring their so-called girlfriend over to the house and let the boy and girl sleep in the same bed together, and there is no proper structure. And I know this for a fact because I see it with my own eyes. What kind of mother and father would allow their daughter to sleep in the same bed as their so-called boyfriend? And all of a sudden they broke up. Please explain that. Please explain that thought. Because if there's no boundaries in a state of mind, then how come the child can do what they want? People ask the question. Because our society promotes pedophilia. It promotes homosexuality. It promotes all these things that are lewdness to the states of mind of people. It is okay because they got the police officers and the judges in their back pockets. They pay them a little something, say, oh no, we're going to dismiss these charges. Because the judge is getting paid thousands. Police officers, sheriffs, deputies, whatever, are getting paid by the thousands to falsify documentation. So that way these rich people can get away scot-free. There's things that I can sit here and make up all day, but I refuse not to make these things up. These are the things that have to be really strongly taken into consideration, and having these unisex gender bathrooms is totally uncalled for. So that means you mean to tell me a transgender man can go into a woman's restroom because he identifies as a woman? Do you see how much confusion that causes for the young people? And then we got the parents who care, who give a care. But then we have the moms and pops who don't give a care. The other ones do. So there's a tug of war. When are the people going to open their eyes and see that there are certain things that should not be allowed, that's inappropriate behavior? These inappropriate behaviors could also lead to a child being shell-shocked and being molested. It doesn't mean that the child has to be molested by touch. It could be activate the senses: seeing, hearing, and thought. There is no child that can tell me they haven't been molested by watching these crazy cartoons and promoting all this homosexuality. Mainly sexuality on top of that. See what I mean? So when do you put your foot down and say, I'm not going to allow this behavior to happen? When are you going to do that? When are you going to challenge that? When are you going to be the one to say, I'm not going to allow this behavior to happen, and I'm going to tell my children between right and wrong? What's appropriate, what's not appropriate? But yet still, we got children who are under 10 years old who are straight perverted. I remember picking up my son from the Boys and Girls Club, my sons, my children. And I remember DX was doing a thing with wrestling, and I overheard these young people talking about, I'll F that B, and that woman's gonna be my baby mama or whatever, and they're over here doing a DX symbol, just suck it or whatever, and I'm thinking to myself, what is the problem? And the children are telling the parents what they can and cannot do, but they're not even monitoring the behavior, being monitored by their mother and father. Let them just do whatever they want. Because their mother and father allow the behavior, so they're exposing their children to it. Now you have to think, is this really true behavior? Is this really good behavior for the babies? Parents out there who let the device entertain your children without you teaching them from right from wrong is a problem. You want to put them in front of a TV and they're going to be acting out a certain way. While you go and have your way with your man, your husband or whatever, and your child just sitting in the swing watching TV. None of y'all can really understand who are incompetent mothers and fathers. I'm talking about those ones. The ones who are, taking heed to their children on their daily activities. Praise the Lord for y'all. I'm not referring to y'all, I'm referring to the mothers and fathers who don't care. That's what I'm referring to. So when we take upon the consideration of learning to better ourselves, better our condition, and wanting to change, and understanding the difference between boundaries and what's appropriate, what's not appropriate, then we can be able to see the change in our young people. But we can't see the change in our young people if the mothers and fathers can't change themselves. It's the facts. It is what it is. But I just came on this live to let y'all know what's going on. This is a short show today because, as always, I have some business to take care of. Well, for the young people out there who are doing the right thing and respecting your mama and your papa or whoever it is that's raising you, praise Allah for you. Praise Allah for you for doing the right thing. And praise Allah for the mothers and fathers who are doing the best they can. They're teaching their children right, and they're loving their children, and they're showing them love at the same time. Honor to them. So with that being said, there might be a part 2 to this. But I have another one called Mindless Behavior might be confusing with others into maybe a different title. But talking to the young people, I love talking to the young people. Because you know what? Sometimes elders, we just have a little sit down and talk with young people about life. Because at the end of the day, it's really truly about what you do, how you love on the young people, teaching them right, bringing them peace. Because you never know, they could be going through a lot. You don't know if piss them off and make them angry. This is why you treat people how you want to be treated. If you come out with somebody with peace, they may not return the peace, return depending on their state of mind. But majority of the time they will. So with that being said, family, I'll cut this live short. Peace and love. Peace and love. Islam. Moment of silence for all those people out there who are suffering, who are in shock, who lost their loved ones. Moment of silence for them for a few moments. Peace and love. Islam closes out the Moorish American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Protect me, my God, and my salvation. By night and by day. It's on the prophet. Islam. Peace and love, family. Have a good rest of your day on this Monday. Islam, Islamism. Love you all.